well, everybody. We are back and we are glad to be back. Assalamu alaikum and welcome
Welcome,
once again to another edition of Nothing But the Truth with
Brother Jamil.
and Sister Tisha. And we're very glad to have you with us this evening. We are so thankful that you chose to be here this night. It's a very special program that we have lined up for you with some life-giving information. And in a world like this, which seems to specialize in death and the proliferation of many, many methods of death, today to have a lifestyle word is a great word. So gather around. You know what we do here
You know what to do.
on Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. You know what we do. Everybody, come on in the room. Wherever you're viewing from tonight, go right in the comments. Let us know where you're viewing from, that you're present with us. This is a family affair. Like we always say, this isn't one of those big highfalutin shows. I don't think I'm Walter Cronkite. I don't think Tisha thinks that she's Barbara Walters.
I'm not trying to be
No,
Barbara.
I'm not trying to be Barbara. No, we just those cool cousins that when you stop by our house and have a cup of coffee, you can meet with your cousins and them, and you can talk about anything.
And
That's
them gonna be there.
and them.
The
Oh, and them
cousins in
always
there?
show up.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
yeah,
All right, I'm coming.
yeah. So we're gonna be here to make sure that this goes well tonight. Today, it's July the 21st in 2022. So much is going on. So much is going to be happening. We have more promotional announcements later on in the program. But just a word at the top. Make sure you pick up your copy of this week's edition of the Final Call News. It is the preeminent newspaper in Black America and around the world where we hear truth unfettered, untied, and loosed to come right into our ear so we can make a difference. That's the Final Call News. Okay. Secondly, we want to make sure that everybody around the nation, you get a chance to tell Tisha where you're calling from, where you're viewing from, who you are, and so we want to welcome you back in the room. You'll hear some familiar names, you'll hear some new names, but everybody's welcome. Tisha, who's here
That's
tonight?
right. Well, tonight on this very stage,
On
you're
this
about to hear "We Swear."
No,
Sorry.
no, no.
All right. Brother William is here.
Brother
Brother
Wi-
William from
nephew.
Oakland.
Nephew William is here from Oakland, and who else we got?
Trisha, sister-in-law Trisha's here. Love her.
Ah, excellent, excellent. Good to see you,
Trisha.
Sister Latricia. And from those, and where's she viewing from?
She's from Dallas.
From Dallas, Texas. I heard the whole state of Texas will be on tonight.
Everybody.
Everybody from Texas is on. See, right now ah, we got Sister Denise Timmons Lewis. I
My
wonder
mom.
who that might be.
My mom.
Yeah, your mom is on with us tonight. Hey, mom, we are glad to receive you here in the room. And there's a lot going on, and we have a very, very, very special guest. Before we introduce the guest, and I'm going to do that in just a moment, I'm going to turn you over to the world's greatest host. And she told me to tell you that that's who she is.
Yes.
But it's the lady right there. That's Sister Tisha. Sister Tisha, go right ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome, welcome to another wonderful edition of Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. Real quick, we just want to get into some a little bit of housekeeping rules. I'm not going to keep you long because our special guest, she needs all the time because she needs all the time.
Yes.
So today, what we want you to do to help us grow this platform, you know what to do. Go right on over to our YouTube page, Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha, and hit like and subscribe to that channel. Go ahead and follow us on that. So, and then after you do that, go right over to our YouTube channel and do the same. Did I say YouTube?
Yes.
I said it twice.
You did,
So
but
our
it's okay.
Facebook side, y'all know what I'm doing. So the mystery man is not here. So Big Face Me is on the controls, and it's just
Well, it's okay, but it's a natural thing, and everybody understands that sometimes you got to drive the car.
I'm driving the car.
You driving it.
I'm
You
in
driving
both lanes right now. Don't worry about it.
it.
Don't
Swerving, a
worry
little
about it. Just
swerving
little
adds
bit,
excitement.
all right? Going over to Facebook, Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. Follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well. Okay?
Yes.
Not Twitter, because I don't know how to do Twitter yet, but I'm going to get there. All right? Hamid,
Yes.
back to you.
Well, thank you so much, hon. That was a great, great segue, great opening segment.
There
And
is
we-
a God,
And yes, of
and he
course.
sent the mystery man
Yeah,
to
the
us.
mystery man is back. We understand that there has been a pizza shortage in his area of the country, which has kept him available to us on tonight. But we're going to
I'm
move
finna
forward.
lean back. I can breathe now.
Yeah, you can breathe
Thanks a
now.
lot.
Yeah. You can breathe now. But I do want to welcome you all to the program and introduce to you our guest. She is Tamar Juncos. She is a therapist, a helper, a psychologist, a clinical psychologist specializing in working with the BIPOC community. BIPOC is an acronym, stands for Black Indigenous People of Color. There's Tamara right there on the screen. She's with us and she has a very powerful message tonight for those of us who want to survive what we've been through and prepare for what we're about to go through. This is the time to be here. She also brings with her a mighty record of achievement, not just her education from Hunter College in New York and from City College of New York, but also she is one of the therapists mentioned in the database of Psychology Today magazine. And she also has been heard and is being heard all around the world. Would you join me in welcoming our guest to the microphone tonight? Are you there, Tammy?
I am, brother.
He's right there.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you
Yes,
so much for
indeed.
having me. I'm excited.
Yes, indeed. We are excited to have you. How are you this evening? Tell us what's happening in your world. We want to get right into the questioning and make sure we can go right into this piece together.
Wow, I'm well. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I'm always on a journey to learn. Thank you so much. There's so much, as you two have already mentioned, there's so much going on in the world today. And I'm just really grateful that I'm here to be able to support and lend a hand along life's journey because it can get really, really difficult and really dark at times. So I'm glad, as a healer, to be able to support those that need it at this time. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I think that there's so much we could ask about tonight. And Tisha, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
I want to just inaugurate the questioning because as we come to 2022 and it's about to give way to 2023, we have been in an unprecedented period of history for at least the last 3 to 4 years with the advent of the pandemic, the political changes, the upheaval and division and strife in the country, and what seems like an uptick of random expressions of violence and depravity in the society. It seems to be a really unstable time.
Mhm.
How does your work confront that instability in the lives of families and in the lives of our communities?
Wow, you brought up a lot of great points, a lot of really great points that we really have to unpack. And I'm hoping I can come back to just talk about so much.
Most
But
definitely.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. We are in a moment and a time of sensory overload,
Mm,
right? There's so much stuff happening, and we're bombarded by so many different areas. So it's important for us to really be able to hone in because so many people want our attention, right? And we're distracted in so many ways that unless we sort of unplug and reset, we're really going to be at a detriment not only to ourselves and to our families, but our society as a whole. So it's important for us with everything going on to really try to hone in and identify a way that we can stay grounded, and
Mhm.
through therapy and through other supportive systems we can be able to achieve that just so we can remain whole. Yeah.
yeah, you can tell everybody you are watching Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. We're off to a galloping start this evening. Let me just ask another question of you, if you don't mind, Tamar. The idea of um, racism as a constant low grade psychological irritant, is that a reality in America, or have we entered a post racial society where it no longer matters whether you're black or white, and we're all together
We're
and we're
all
all
one.
integrated in one community, Americans with liberty and justice for all?
I'm leaving.
Oh, brother Jamil, wow. I'm just cracking up because some people actually believe that. Some people actually believe that. And that is, oh my gosh, that is the biggest, if we think about the biggest myth when we think about it and where we are right now. I believe in the words and the philosophy of Neely Fuller Jr. when we talk about just where we
Mm,
are in regards to race, right? And those 9 areas, right? When we think about education, economics, entertainment, labor, law,
mhm,
politics, sex, war, and religion, these are the areas, the 9 areas that are dominated by the system of white supremacy that we know as racism. So when we talk about these 9 areas and we think about the mental health pieces, right? And we didn't even talk about the medical system and how racism is infiltrated in that. So there's so many pieces. And just being someone that identifies as Black or person of color, just navigating through all those pieces. James Baldwin said, I'm surprised with the Black person, the Black man is constantly in a constant state of rage. I'm surprised that we're not always, right? But we'll talk about that too, and just really operating in a constant world of oppression and racism where it's everywhere.
You're listening to Tamar Juncos. She's with us live and in person, our therapist from our community, helping us to heal our families.
Yes.
Tisha, you want to take over the questioning? This is a lot tonight.
This is a lot. Okay, so you deal with your practice deals with families, right? So do you do individual therapies as well?
Right. Individuals, families, and groups.
Okay. And then how would people reach you if they wanted to reach out, if we felt, I need to have some sort of therapy, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
We have viewers from everywhere. Do you do virtual?
I do
Virtual
absolutely.
sessions?
Right now, I'm doing virtual, and people can definitely go on to Psychology Today.
Okay.
And they can also, the phone number that we can be able to put up online, just so that they could be able to access that too, just so that we can be able to reach people as much as we can. So right now, I'm doing virtually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but we have the phone. There's the phone number,
Yeah,
the
there we go.
201
Yep.
357-7329. So if someone was interested in setting up for some sort of therapy type classes, they
Yep.
can reach out that way. Now, tell us a little bit about how they reach you with the Psychology Today, because that's
Oh,
actually somewhere they can sign up, right? Is that correct? How that works?
yeah, they can definitely log in. It's a directory for different sort of mental health professionals, different sort of clinicians, and you can really place your specialty in there and what you're looking for. So if you're looking for maybe a specific therapist, a therapist of color, a particular religion that identify that. So Psychology Today is definitely go online, and you can possibly Google it even if you wanted to, and even place your distance, your city, your zip code, and all the other specifiers, just so that you can find what you need. So definitely go into Psychology Today, look it up, my name, and send me a message.
And
Perfect.
you spell it TAMAR
Yep.
JUNCOS.
I've also put up your email address as well.
Thank you so much. Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
This is really something. I have another couple of questions, if you will. I've heard, and maybe this is a layman's misinformation, but you can help me. I've heard that in this modern society where things appear to be becoming unhinged at a rapid rate, there is a lot of blame placed on the use of pharmaceuticals, drugs, controlled substances. Are drugs the cause or the symptom, or
Mhm.
sometimes both, of what's happening in our society, and how can we begin to attack that particular malady?
Right. Well, that's a great question, right? Which one comes first, right? The chicken or the egg, right? Kind of thing when we think about that concept. But we really have to understand the dynamic of trauma,
Okay.
right? When we have a people that really are unable to really understand how to process a traumatic situation, we really just want to feel better. That's
Hmm.
it, right? We really just want to feel better, whatever that better may mean, whatever that way may look. And I want to feel better fast. Right.
Right.
So when we think about a lot of times what's going on, usually when drugs are introduced, it might be introduced via social circle, right?
Okay.
And we really might think about people that may be going through something, a traumatic situation, and they may lean on this substance because they may not know how to process whatever trauma that they're experiencing, whatever blockage, right?
Mhm.
And that's when substances come in, right?
Right.
Substances come in because people just want to numb,
Uh-huh.
right? They
Right.
just want to numb. They just want to find a way to make it stop. So that's kind of pretty much what's going on there, finding a way to stop the pain. So we have people that develop a dependency, right? A
Mm.
dependency pretty much on substances because they're looking for that high to take away the pain that's really going to block what ultimately they need to fix, which is the root. So we really have to get to the root, and then we can talk about the substance use. But right now, pharmaceuticals, they're really taking the city, taking the world by storm, because we're talking about profits.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. So sick
Profit.
consumers keep things flowing. So if people are anxious, right, and if people are having difficulty processing their trauma, we go right to those drugs that will temporarily, it's called instant gratification, right?
Wow.
They will
Wow.
temporarily, it's like a band-aid,
Mhm.
right? But we have to remain dependent so the doctors keep filling those prescriptions.
Hmm.
And yes, ma'am, you quoted the great historian and social commentator, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and you said that Neely Fuller Jr. gave us the 9 areas of enterprise in a society. I want to make sure I get these correct. Is it education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, sex, war, and religion? Do I have those correct?
That's correct, Brother Jamil. That's correct.
Okay. And so, as Neely Fuller, who was one of the great contemporaries of our sister, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and often quoted as a very keen observer of our condition in general and the Black condition in particular, Mr. Fuller says that in these areas, a society must be healthy in these actions of maintaining itself in order for it to grow into something greater in the future. Do you see a threat to the Black community, the indigenous community, the Latino community, the Caribbean and African community, the Muslim community, all of those who are ostracized and put to the fringe of society? Do you see us being threatened in these 9 areas? And if so, what can we do to strengthen our position?
Wow. Wow, what could we do to strengthen our position when we think about these 9 areas? And as you mentioned, do I see a threat?
Hmm.
Absolutely, right. What could we do? Because right now, the system of supremacy, right, white racism, when we talk about racism and white supremacy, this is not something that we created,
Right.
right? So it's not something
Yeah.
that we have the power to undo, because this is not a system. We're talking about eons, right? We're talking about a strategic plan that worked in this area and that is fruitful and that continues to thrive.
Yeah.
It continues to thrive, right? So there's a lot of people that are working really hard to maintain these systems in this place the way that they are, because so many people are benefiting from them,
Yes.
right? So that's something that we really, really have to keep in mind, because in order for us to create a system of justice, of correctedness, right, it would really have to be a lot of community work, right? Really understanding where we are, because what's happening right now is, quite honestly, it's sort of like we're in a prison, right? When we think about this system, these
Mm.
9 areas, we're in a prison,
Wow.
and it's powerful, right? That we're operating in this mindset, and we have to do our best, because we know that there's certain powers that be. So we're really doing our best to strengthen our mental capacities as much as we possibly can, and really operating under the circumstances that we're in right now at this time. So definitely there's a threat, but we're really doing our best as a people, as a generation, to do a lot of undoing that we're doing now. Yeah, I don't know if that answers. Yeah.
That
Doing the undoing.
that leads me to the question I was
Yes.
going to ask you too, when you were talking about the substances and the drugs and what have you, and how as a people we numb a lot to get away from everything, because um it still had that bad stigma tied to needing help, especially some sort of therapy or mental depression, anxiety. Are you still seeing that as the trend, as our people were like, no, I don't go to counseling, no, I don't need this? So even if we're not numbing, sometimes we just kind of brush it under the rug and it becomes our norm. Whatever that trauma or dysfunction is, it becomes our norm, and we pass that on to our children. We have to have these kind of conversations to get out of that,
Mm.
because this is not the norm.
That's right.
Everybody's not just throwed off. I mean, well, some people, but everybody's not just throwed off.
I
We
don't
have
I
to
don't
talk
think
about it.
that you're allowed to have a psychological therapist on the program and then use the term throw it off.
Oh,
Throw it off.
that's a medical term.
That's it's medical. Okay.
But seriously, we push stuff under the rug still. We don't
Yeah.
have to, not in 2022.
No, no, no. That is so true, Tisha. I don't know. When we talk about if I'm going to start this sentence and I'm going to ask you to finish it. What happens in this house
Stays in this house.
come on, y'all. Y'all already know that's the
Mm.
way that we were raised, right? What
Yeah.
happens here stays here. Do not go outside and tell nobody my business. Don't you
That's
be
right.
going out there and telling the people my business, right? And it happens across the span. So when we talk about therapy, the idea many years ago was you crazy, you
Mhm.
730. You
Mhm.
everybody talked about the diagnosis bipolar. Oh, she crazy, right?
Right.
And she's out there, and a lot of people hid behind a lot of religion. Sometimes you don't need that, just pray about it, right? It'll go
Oh,
away,
wow.
Mhm.
right?
Wow.
So there's so many levels when we think about the belief systems around therapy, right? And Tisha, you brought up a great point. You said stuffing. And
Yes.
stuffing is one of the things that is a real core piece when we talk about communication styles, because a lot of us, we did something called stuffing, which is that we didn't really know how to properly express our emotions. So
Mhm.
we just stuffed it, right? And when you think about a closet, you just
Hmm.
stuff it. And what eventually happens after stuffing?
Mhm.
It overflows or
Flows.
explodes.
Yep.
That's what happens. And that means it overflows and explodes, Brother Jamil, on anybody, right?
Mhm.
Anybody can get it, right? Even the
Anybody.
people
Mm.
that it's not meant for.
Right.
So when we stuff, right, that's something, as you mentioned, Tisha, becomes generational. We
Yes.
start to teach our children, right, that it's okay not to just really emote any feelings, right? So what happened was sometimes growing up, you may see a mother, she just may continue to close the door, right? And she may slam, or she just may be silent,
Mhm.
right? Because she's stuffing those emotions internally, right? And what happens is it starts to really manifest in other areas of her life.
Mm.
Right. So we might see some illness, right? As we talked about, there might be some rheumatoid arthritis, for example, some other autoimmune diseases that they may be
Wow.
battling with. And this is a lot of internalizing, a lot of trauma, a lot of stress. So when we
Wow.
talk about just really stuffing, I want people to know that secrets make us sick.
Ah.
Secrets
Secrets
make us
make
sick.
us sick.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Wow.
get sick. We have this philosophy, snitches get stitches, right?
Yes.
And we know that, and we carry that throughout generations. But it's important to understand that secrets make us sick. What we hold on to, right, and what we keep inside really needs some place to really find a way, and it can really be detrimental. So when we
Hmm.
talk about therapy, people now are saying, I got a therapist and I spoke to my
Uh,
therapist. So it's important for us to normalize it more and more
Yes.
now.
Yes. And
Beautiful.
remove the stigma attached previously
Mhm.
with the idea of receiving therapy. Something you just said before we go. I know you're in the comments section. You have questions, and I know we're going to get to them, Tisha. But I wanted to just quickly ask this question. And you're on with Tamar Juncos.
Mhm.
She's here in person, and she is able to take your questions. But quickly before we go to the comment section, you talked about secrets, right? They hurt us, they cause us trauma and difficulty and pain. But there is a place for some proper management of sensitive information, right? I mean, you don't want to just blab and blur all your business in the street,
All on
but you do
Facebook.
want to make sure that you're not being held hostage to any secret or attached stigma. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That is correct. That is correct. Because once we hold on to those secrets and we don't have a way of finding a healthy way to really be able to process the information, that can really overwhelm us. And that can lead
Mhm.
to something else called overthinking,
Okay.
right? And a lot of people battle. I don't know about people that are listening, but a lot of people battle with overthinking, right? And really ruminating because they're thinking about that secret and holding and the weight that that carries. So, as you mentioned, making sure that there's a healthy space to be able to get that out or write that down, right? Get that out, write that down. So, I really encourage journaling as well, right? Because we want to
Hmm.
be
Oh,
able to manage that. So, if that means recording some of those things. And one of the skills that I always also recommend is brain dumping. At the end of the day, just take a couple moments and just really getting your thoughts out on paper,
Wow.
just so that you're not holding those emotions in.
oh wow. Brain
Brain
dumping and
dumping.
journaling. Interesting.
Brain
Now,
dumping.
in my era, and I was born back in 19, and so I
When?
would In my era,
You're
journaling.
You're stuffing. When
Yeah.
were you?
No, no, secrets make us sick.
Yeah.
Listen, I was I was born in a time frame, guys, when journaling was seen as almost exclusively the activity of females.
Girls.
That a diary keeper
Uh-huh.
was a female, that a journal keeper was a female, that expressive emotional conversation where the idea is to feel and be felt, to hear and be heard, that was a feminine expression. How do you deal with traditional masculine and feminine roles in a machismo dominated society?
Wow. That's a great question. Emotions are emotions, right? And it's really, really important for us to think about the way we've been socialized, right? Oftentimes we talk about men suppressing these emotions, right? You can't feel, right? Or that's being feminine for you to cry, even though crying is a natural bodily function that we all have because we all have tears, right?
Right.
But we're repressing these because that's the way that our society has created and these roles. So it's important when we think about the roles of men, right, and how men show up, especially Black men, men of color in our community. It's important that they be able to emote in a way that's healthy, right? So we're working on really dismantling this idea and this belief system that that men aren't able to emote or that they look down or frown upon, or this whole idea of toxic masculinity and things of that nature, because we need a man to really be able to have a safe space to share his feelings, to share his emotions. So we had so many Black writers, so many scripts, so many rappers and artists that just really write lyrics that really pour out from the inside, just what they're feeling, right? So this is really remarkable. So I encourage more and more Black men to just really write songs and bring your voice forward. The people need to hear, bring your voice forward so we can hear what you have to share in your world. Yeah. So writing, by all means, we want to dismantle that idea, throw that thought out in any way, shape, or form, and really create a new narrative, because writing is healing.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything all professional and drawn out. You can get you a spiral and just get to writing. Just let it out. Just dump.
That's it. That's right. Don't judge it and just really allow yourself. And it's so cathartic. But I mean, it feels good. It feels like as if you would, excuse the language, but if you would have vomit, right? And you have all this mess. And then usually when you think about it, before you vomit, you feel that uncomfortability, that discomfort, right? But after, you feel so good because you got that out. And that's what that is like. Yeah.
And sometimes it comes out violently. You're like my stomach is just a little upset. And next thing you know, right?
It gets messy.
Yeah. It seems you're advocating projectile journaling. Is that what I'm hearing?
Just dump it.
Just dump it. Okay, brain dumping.
No judgment. No judgment. Yeah, no judgment. Just allow yourself. Yeah.
Right. It's for you. Nobody needs to read it, right? You know, I started journaling. I ran from it for a long time because I was like, nobody needs to know my secrets. These 6 secrets are staying with me. But when I started journaling, sometimes when you go back a month or 2 later and you read, you don't even remember what you wrote. It's like, oh, she was in an ugly spot. But it felt so, you could see the growth as the more you do it. You can see how you're moving from that dark spot to wherever it is that you need to go. Wow. You just don't know it. Just let it out.
Wow. Oh, teacher, that is so true. Yes. And there's something about putting a pen to the paper, right? Nowadays, people put notes in their phone, which is okay, but really be able to write that down and reflect, like you said, is powerful. I'm so glad that you went back into that.
No doubt about it. We're at the bottom of the hour, everybody. You know what we do at 8:30. We just want to remind you, you are viewing Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha, and we are involved in a great discussion with our expert for this evening, Ms. Tamar Juncos, who is a psychologist and therapist without equal. You can hear that she's addressing the needs of individuals, families, and communities. So she'll be back after this message, and we'll see you. Don't touch that dial. Stay right here.
Get your questions ready, though. She's coming back.
Hey, everybody. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
We are back with more information from Nothing But the Truth with
Brother Jamil
and Sister Tisha.
That's right.
Today we're moving something in a way that we haven't in months. That's because the weather's warm, it's sunny, and it's time to get up and shake something loose. Not hard, but shake something loose and move, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Oh, I'm so excited to get out here and shake a tail feather. And
No,
nice
you're not going to be doing that. No,
shake
that's what you're not going to do.
Shake something
No,
loose?
no. I meant something medical.
Okay,
May
we'll do
Allah
that
bless you all to move something, stay healthy, stay strong, stay out here in the fight. Keep moving all the time.
You
okay?
can do it.
You can do it.
All right. Assalamualaikum.
I don't
I
understand.
love that.
Tina said shake a tail feather. I was just
I don't give 1/2 of it. Never mind. We're not taking fellas out here. And I mean the therapeutic, you need to
intervention. Let it loose.
Right. Okay. We're gonna go to the comment section. You're here with Tamar Juncos. She is gonna receive your questions. Let's go right to the comment section. There are stacks of questions. We'll try to get to your question if we can, but the switchboard is full. Go right ahead.
The switchboard is full. A lot of people are just commenting on how much they've started journaling and they're in counseling now. So that's really good to see. I'm liking that. But Josie writes, and she wants to know, is this sort of counseling affordable? Is it affordable? Is it something that, we're able to do? Tell us about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the interesting thing about therapy is that there's so many different platforms. So even if you go into psychology today, you can even put your budget, right? You can be able to put what you're looking for. So there are different prices. And there are some therapists who also currently take insurances. So depending on your insurance, there are therapists who also accept different types of insurance. So if you currently have insurance, you want to call your provider. And if you're also interested in having maybe a Black therapist or an African American therapist or a therapist of color, you can also specify that as well. So just different levels of affordability for therapy. So definitely don't allow that to stop you in any way, shape, or form. That's a great question because a lot of people are concerned about how expensive therapy can be. So it ranges. Yeah.
Love it. But the key thing is it's affordable. We can work it out.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just for the record, because I'm not grown and I don't want no whooping, it's not
Aunt
Josie.
Josie.
That's Aunt Josie.
Don't be just
don't
saying
be
it
trying to
without
get
the
grown.
No. Don't forget who you are.
Don't get out of line.
Mhm.
I don't need her slapping me by the back of my shirt and shaking me real hard.
You don't need
Who did you think? Who?
Now let's go back to the questions if we can, Tisha. I know there are many more. We're going to try to get to as many of these as we can. Who's
All
next,
right.
Tisha?
So Brother Dave says, should I be worried if it's like too cheap? Like they might leave me more messed up? You know what?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you think about it for a second. If you were to just kind of go to just any old doctor and they're like, listen, I'm just going to just kind of wing it, right? That's going to make you question their credibility, right? If you just know. So you definitely want to do your research on the background. You definitely want to find out a little bit more to see if there's any reviews or anything along those lines, so you can make sure that you get quality, because this is your mental health. And you're right, you don't want to leave further messed up. So you really want to make sure the time frame. And part of a consultation is really understanding if the match between you and a therapist or a counselor is a good match or not. So during sort of like a consultation call, you also want to fill that out. Yeah.
Now that's a good point. So just because you found a counselor doesn't mean you have to stay with that one.
Right.
So it's a feeling too that we're looking for.
Oh, absolutely, Tisha. Absolutely. Because some people feel like, well, I found a therapist and sometimes a Black therapist, but the chemistry may not be right. So it's important to really think about, what do you want to get out of therapy? Is there some sort of lack in your life, or what exactly specifically are you coming into therapy for? Just so that you have an idea of the type of therapist or clinician you want to match what you're looking for to meet your need.
Perfect. Now, Aunt Josie asks, should the therapist be female? So like, if you're a female, do you recommend going to a female therapist? Men should go to men, or does it even matter?
You know, it's really about preference. On Josie, that's a great question. It's really about preference and about comfortability. Oftentimes, I find that my female clients that are women, that are Black women, feel comfortable with having me as another Black woman. And then I've also found that there are some Black men that feel comfortable with speaking to me as a Black woman. So it really depends. I do feel like it's about comfort level. But
Okay.
oftentimes, if you feel someone and you feel like they created a space, it's about trust. So it's important for you to be able to trust your therapist because this is your life.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. There's no doubt about it. And as folks are gathering in the comment section, we can see them coming in from around the country. We want to thank Brother Arthur and the family there in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Oh,
And those may not be words you get a chance to say every day in New York City and East Harlem, Sister Tamar, but Pine Bluff, Arkansas is on the line with you. So is Mound Bayou, Mississippi.
Every-
Sister Catherine's with us tonight from Mound Bayou, Mississippi. And Derek 3X, always with us from
Always.
Rahway, New Jersey.
Always support.
And there are so many others coming in from around the country. Viewing this broadcast has become a tradition of people who are involved in the process of self improvement, which, as we know, is the basis, Minister Farrakhan teaches us, of community development. So self improvement produces community development. And what I hear you saying
Mhm.
is that you started the broadcast talking about the constant low grade stressor of racism and white supremacy. And that the great author and commentator James Baldwin said that to be Black and conscious in America is like to be in a constant state of rage.
yeah.
Wow.
Is it still that way? Has it gotten worse? And I hear you talking about individual and family ideas that work together to help us survive racism. Is that just an unexpected bonus, or did you build that in on purpose?
No, 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 no. We definitely have to keep that in mind as a family. We have to keep that in mind as a community because there's a lot, again, that stuffing. That stuffing happens a lot, that we've internalized a lot of the oppression in a lot of ways. So when we think about that dynamic, the first part I mentioned was stuffing. That's when we internalize and we keep that in. The second part is exploding.
Mm.
Exploding is that next level, and these are the different types of communication styles and different levels that we go through and how we process it. And when we explode, that means that's violent, right?
Hmm.
We can also self implode, right? And we can just cause self sabotage to ourselves. Some people punch walls and they punch other things, but some people really self sabotage by the way that they eat or the lack of things that they eat to nourish their bodies, right? That's another way of self sabotaging, right? When we think about the ways that we're exploding and handling our communication and our style. And the last way is managing our anger. When we manage our anger, we manage our emotions, that's a healthy way. But traditionally and customarily over generations, we've been only taught to stuff it or explode, not really taught how to manage as a people. So when we see each other, funny enough, we need to start acknowledging one another, right?
Right,
And just
right.
saying hello, right? We kind of walk by like, I don't know him, especially y'all know in New York, I don't know him.
Yes.
We could walk, you could be on the train station,
Yes.
falling apart, arm bleeding, and people
Yes.
just keep going. So it's
Right.
about acknowledging and pulling people into the fold because we're all going through something. Everybody has a story, but especially when we have a people, melanated people of color that's gone through what we've gone through, it's really important for us to come together and really be aware because we can't talk about we don't see race because that's impossible. Then you're
Right.
not really looking.
Wow, that's amazing. We are on with Tamar Juncos tonight on live
Yeah.
with nothing with the,
Wow.
nothing with the truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha, but there's
Yes.
so much more
Yeah.
to unpack. And I noticed that the hour is winding toward the top.
Let's get
And I know there are many more questions in the comments, and we're going to get to as many questions as we can. But the idea that you're putting forward is seemingly a holistic approach to a human being grounded and centered.
Mhm.
And that grounded centeredness seems to be a desirable way that we're moving forward. To self medicate or anesthetize or numb, as you said earlier. Starting this process can spin us down a road where we expect to stuff and explode.
Right.
We write songs about stuffing and exploding.
Right.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, up in here.
Y'all
See?
gonna make me
See, and then
go
that's
all
what we hear and think about snapping. but there's a healthier way, and I think that's what we're in search of tonight. You're watching Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil
Wow.
and Sister Tisha. Our guest tonight, Tamar Juncos, psychological therapist extraordinaire.
Yes.
Thank you.
Back to the
Yeah.
comments. You know that Sean says unaddressed mental issues can be even more expensive due to the impact. Unaddressed mental issues. It can.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes. Unaddressed mental issues. When we talk about it, if those don't, that becomes generational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're talking about even more impact down the line as we talk about it. So we really need to make sure that if we have the opportunity and if we can afford it, there's sometimes in certain schools, right? There's certain guidance counselors and there's certain places, but we really have to talk about this. Another issue is when we talk about the mother-daughter relationship, the family dynamic. I know in certain families, we do things like kick our kids out at 18. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Oh gosh, that's the way.
But that used to
Grown,
be
get out.
right. Well, we used to kick our kids out and we like, if you don't do what I say, right, you go. But the reality is biologically, the frontal lobe, the frontal cortex of the lobe,
Teaching.
it's not really developed into 25. And that's where that decision making is. So we expect when we 18, you're supposed to know these things. And if you don't, right, you're going to get penalized or punished. But biologically, there's so much learning and developing that's still happening. So when we talk about that being expensive and unhelp and therapy that or trauma that just was never processed, it definitely can be more expensive. So that was a great question, Shantae. Yeah, definitely. That statement rather, because that's powerful. Yeah.
Unaddressed mental issues. And realistically, and I just want to jump in here to ask this question. What I hear you doing is reclaiming the approach to health and wellness that should be occupied by free people. See, slaves don't have a way to raise anybody other than another slave. They've been broken away from the ideas of self-interest and freedom, and therefore those slaves produce children who will follow the model of slaves. I heard it said, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, Tamar, that the parenting styles of Black people in America who have not gained a knowledge of themselves and a perspective on dealing with these 9 areas of enterprise that Neely Fuller puts forward. These are folks who have not started journaling or brain dumping, who do not understand that secrets make us sick. These are people who are living in that old paradigm. They say that Black parents parent by finding different ways to say no to their child, to refuse them, to reject them, to turn them down, to deny them, to turn them away, and to make sure that they don't want anything that the parent is thinking they're protecting them against not achieving. So then you have this whole cycle where Blacks perpetuate ignorance. What I hear you doing is breaking that, because I hear you connecting not only to our inner selves, but to the world around us. This is fascinating.
Thank you, Brother Jamil. So much work. I'm so grateful that you and Sister Tisha have this space that we're holding, because there's so much work that has to be done. Like I said, a lot of undoing, a lot of unlearning and relearning, down to the family dynamics, the way we discipline our children. Oftentimes we were raised, and you talked about it, Brother Jamil, just a little bit when we talk about how we discipline our children, parenting styles. And we only operate from what we know, right? We only operate from the mindset and the paradigm that we know, down to spanking, right? A lot of the connection to spanking is really a lot of what we picked up from slavery, right? On how to discipline, right? So we discipline, we say things that are nasty or that are mean. We tell our children to shut up, right? Or be quiet, right? Rather than saying, I want to hear your opinion, because we're afraid of what they're really going to say.
Oh, wow.
Right? They're going to challenge our character, right? So when we think about it, we take a lot of what we're learning, a lot of what we learned, and we pass that down. And we really have to break those things, right? The shut up, the once I say something, I speak, you listen, right?
Yes.
When I talk, I'm trying to think automatically. Like, children are meant to be heard, seen and not heard.
Right.
Seen and not heard, right? So we really start to really numb a lot of their voice, right? And she's a child or he's a child and they don't know, or they're dumb or they're stupid. So we really want to start to change the language the narrative. Instead of physically getting violent, let's use our words, right? And let's you make sure that we have, instead of aggressive communication, let's have assertive communication, clear communication, right? Where there's no confusion. So it's important to speak in certain tones that are respectful. But we're learning a lot, unlearning a lot of this. I know a lot of Black people, we used to call each other and say things like, "You ugly. Hey, ugly," right? Or say things like that. And that was really mean, right? But these are things that we picked up a lot of times just really from slavery, a lot of from that mindset. So undoing a lot of that. Yeah.
Oh wow. You know what I thought about in just in listening? I was a foster parent for a minute.
Mhm.
Loved it. Everybody should get into that. Beautiful. Our babies need us. But what I found is that sometimes we grow. Like I'm clearly an adult now. But if there was some sort of traumatic break when I was 5,
Mhm.
when I was 4, sometimes we get stuck there. Or when certain situations come up, you turn your 49-year-old self turns back into that little 4-year-old. You handle it like a 4-year-old. How does a person get past that? Is this something that therapy can help them through? Because sometimes we don't even recognize it. It's just what I do. This just who I am. Deal with it. But no, no, ma'am, you're acting like you're 4. Well,
Right.
something happened when I was 4. And that happens with a lot of us, but we've stuffed it. We just accepted it's just who I am. And we go on. That's so unhealthy and so unnecessary in 2022. How do we address that?
Right, right, right. Tisha, I'm so glad that you brought that up because we're talking about repressed memories. When a
Mhm.
trauma happens, right, it gets stored and it affects us in so many different ways. Trauma affects so many people in so many different ways, but our mind is so powerful. It's such an amazing computer system that happens that we store memories, right? We store memories. And if we don't process that, or if we don't have the means or the space to process that, it gets stored. And when we push that down, again, we're talking about stuffing, something can happen that can trigger that memory, right? And then all of a sudden, we're brought back to that place where it's sort of like a visceral experience. That means you can start to feel in your body where you felt that same experience happen all over again. So it's important to listen to those cues. But a lot of people say, I don't know where that came from. And that's where therapy comes in to really start to go back to some of those mindsets.
Hmm.
Because sometimes we have something called coping mechanisms, and
Yes.
that part of defense, we had to use that at some point. It worked for us in the
Yes.
past, maybe when we were little, that we had to use this mindset. And as we got older, that no longer works for us.
Hmm.
We can't continue to use the same keys to open up old locks. And that's what happens. We get locked into certain mindsets.
Yes.
As we're children, we grow up and we have something called, clinicians call this thing cognitive distortions. You start
Okay.
making up things in your mind and they get locked in,
Wow.
and then you just start keeping them there. But we have to really fight to recreate that. And there's something called neuroplasticity, which is powerful. Your mind can create new paths and new ways of thinking. So it's really, really powerful. But there's so many things to do out there. But what you said, especially child sexual abuse, child trauma, molestation gets repressed.
Mm-hmm.
And that plays into something called intimacy, not intimacy, but intimacy, which is very different. And that can really cause friction in intimacy and relationships if we don't talk about that.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
You're listening to Tamar Juncos. She is live with us on Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha.
Yes.
And I think this is a face you're going to be seeing a lot more of in the future. So get used to it. That pretty smile with those glasses, you're going to be seeing it right here.
Me,
Now
my
there
face.
are 3 pretty smiles on here with glasses if you want to be technical about it. But but the one at the bottom of your screen is our sister Tamar Juncos, and she is providing us the wisdom that we're hearing tonight. Special guests and shout outs. We see everybody gathering from around the country, from down in Greensboro, North Carolina. You see Brother Harold and Sister Vanita. They're there in Greensboro, North Carolina, all the way out in Northwest Arkansas. The great, the great
The great.
Shantae.
Oh yeah, she's
Showing
great.
time.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, I say
We
yes.
want to make sure we do that. Want to welcome Katina Muhammad from Dallas, Texas.
Love
And of
her.
course, Aunt Sally's on the line with us from Texas as well. a whole family, y'all bum rush the show. Victor Muhammad from Silver Spring, Maryland. He says,
Nice.
"Hey, the Hammonds,
The
the
hummus.
Hammonds," and
I
so we
like
wanted to welcome everybody. We are a big family here. We want to encourage you and your family to be the best that you can be.
that.
You're not going to come here and hear us tell you something negative about yourself. There's a whole world of people that want to tell you how you ain't this and you ain't that. But when you come here, you're safe to know how really great you are. You can guard against cognitive distortion right here. You don't need your neuroplasticity to be encouraged by Parliament Funkadelic albums and Panama Red or Acapulco Gold. You don't have to have that. You can start your own product. Young people like, what are those things he said? I don't know.
Funkadelic?
Who is that? I don't know.
Don't
But
say
you
funky.
can
That's
be
a bad word.
able to do the right thing in the right way. Tisha, I'm going to yield to you because I'm so fired up tonight. I might just, wow.
Yeah, you might just. Real quick, I know we're about to wrap up the show, but I have one question I saw in here for just a moment. I want you to take a look at it real quick. Mommy had put on here, excuse me, Denise,
Yes.
put on here, what are your thoughts about TMS? Do you know what TMS is, Tammy? Or do
No,
we need?
can you go into a little bit more detail?
All right, Bernice, we don't have thoughts on TMS. We don't
No,
know.
I
what
have
that
thoughts
is.
on TMZ.
No, not that. No,
Not that?
TMS.
No,
All
not
right.
TMZ.
So hopefully, Mommy, if you can get your comment in before the show's over, we'll try to address TMS.
Yes.
No, we don't have any thoughts at this time.
Okay.
Yes. I'll definitely look it up and get back to you too.
Yes. What are the
I
thoughts
used to
on
suffer
TMS?
from TMS. It was too much stress.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a highly technical term.
Did you
describing-
stuff?
Yeah, too much. I was stuffing and exploding. I was stuffing and exploding. Crazy.
Oh, please no stuffing because that causes so much problems. There are people that create dental issues when you're thinking, when you're stressed. People have stomach ulcers. People have strokes and heart attacks when they're unable to manage their anger and emotions. So stuffing causes so many health issues. So it's important to really be able to move that around. Yeah.
Okay. She says TMS is brain stimulation.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, so that's actually another type of technique. Thank you so much, Aunt Denise. Thank you so much for bringing that up. That's another technology that people can actually use depending on the level of where their trauma is to really be able to stabilize. So I would really say, depending on where you are, that may be something you want to research to see if that may help. So there's so many different modalities, traumatic stress syndrome. So I'm sorry, traumatic mental stress. Yeah, and that's all around us. And I think that encompasses in general what happens after a trauma and how we process that trauma.
Wow, great. And so TMS did not mean what you thought it was, Brother Vaughn, the Tom Joyner morning show. It's not. It had nothing to do.
I cannot get good help around
You
here.
can't. It's hard. It's hard to find.
You need to go numb right
I
now.
gotta go now. See, this is what, and tell me a little bit, Tamar, about laughter and humor and joy as a therapeutic practice, as a wellness practice. Should people strive to generally be joyous and happy? And how do we approach that?
Absolutely, Brother Jamil. I say in every way, shape, or form, I make an effort to every day nod my head, right? Because I just know things are going to work out well because I always believe in win-win situations, right? There's no lose, right? I only learn, right? I don't lose, I only learn from what's going on. So what happens is joy and happiness, that's your responsibility.
Wow.
That's not the responsibility of your partner. That's not the responsibility of your mom. That's not the responsibility of your children to make you happy. That's a huge responsibility to give somebody. So your joy and your happiness and your emotions are your responsibility, right? So if you said, listen, I'm depressed, right? And so is making me that way. No one can make you depressed, right? Your emotions belong to you, right? So when we talk about pretty much, thank you, Anthony. So when we talk about joy, we have to figure out where is that reserve. Right. I know for me, I ride my bike every day in New York. I make sure that I spend my time with people that I know will pour into me. And that's also adding to something, which is a chemical called oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical. So the more you bond with people, the more you bond with your spouse, the more you bond with your loved one, you're releasing this chemical. And we each have this along with dopamine, another chemical that we get from when we complete a task. So there's so many things we have access to that we have to tap into. Exercise, right? Taking a walk. This is all a part of different parts of hormones that we can activate on our own, different types of endorphins.
Yes, indeed. This is powerful discussion. We are nearing the end as the clock on the wall approaches the top of the hour, but very quickly, what is it about our communities and our families that tends to drive us to see the world through a very myopic lens where everything, like they always say, everything's about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about me. What I think, acknowledge me. I know you're having a situation. Look, I know you just had a family crisis,
My friend.
but now that I'm here at the repast, it's about me, right? Like, how do we deal with that seemingly almost an unconscious stumbling selfishness
Wow.
that seems to govern our interpersonal relationships, right? People really think it is all about me.
Gosh.
How do we do that?
Brother Jamel, thank you so much for mentioning that. I'm just grabbing my charger here. We have an idea of being independent, right? We want to be independent. The other thing is we don't want to be dependent on anybody. So the goal for us is to be in the middle. What we talk about, especially Stephen Covey talks about interdependency. We need to be interdependent, right? We need to be able to understand that this is a give and take, right? And work as a community, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the only way we're going to be able to do this, right? We need to be in alignment and make sure that we're on the same page if we're going to be able to make this thing work in the system of racism as we talk about white supremacy. So that's something we each are original medicine, right? We each have something to bring forth into this world. So if we don't do that, we're doing a detriment to ourselves. So it's important for us to be able to be interdependent to start dismantling the system that if we can make it happen. Yeah.
That is the voice of
Great.
Tamar
This was great.
Juncos. She is with us tonight, and we hope that you'll consider coming back. Sit right where you are. Don't go anywhere tomorrow. We've got to go to some high-level negotiations after these credits roll tonight, okay? But right now, I want to turn you over to the world's most beautiful host. It is Tisha Muhammad. She's going to give you some information that you need in order to become a supporter and an expander of this platform. Then we'll close out and let y'all have your Thursday night back.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us for another wonderful edition of Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha and Tammy Tam. Oh, you've got to come back, Tammy, because there's so much more to talk about. This is great. And I'm going to have my T-shirt next time that says, I am dope. Dopamine.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be me.
So I have a shirt that says, I'm an oxy dealer. Oxytocin? No, oxytocin, not oxy.
Yes.
Dopamine. Yes, we're going to have that. All right. So before we go, guys, help us grow this platform. You know what to do. Just go right on over to YouTube. Help us get our numbers, those followers up there. We got the reels going, but we need the followers so we can push out on that algorithm and reach more people, right? So just go to YouTube, follow us on YouTube, Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil and Sister Tisha. You can do the same on Facebook. Same name, Nothing But the Truth with Brother Jamil, Sister Tisha. We do have an Instagram page with the Nothing But the Truth, or you can go to my page, Tisha Muhammad, in Instagram, and the same for, what's that last name? TikTok. We're growing the TikTok platform. But help us spread the word. If you are interested in making a love donation towards the podcast, you can do so by going to our Cash App. It's $ Bro Works, $BROWORKS. All donations go directly to building this platform. All right. We're going to give Miss Tammy the last word, and then we will see you same time next week, Allah willing. But right now, it's on you, Tam.
Yes, I just want to remind you that everyone, again, you're original medicine. You are original medicine. Again, your voice sonic, your eye color, the way you see things. So please bring your voice forward because the world needs what you have to offer. Thank you so much, Tisha. Thank you, Brother Jamil, for just creating this space. Have a good night.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, everybody. Y'all know what it is. Be at peace with one another. Don't do anything that anybody you wouldn't have them do to you. Let's make sure that we all prepare because Allah willing and the creek don't rise next Thursday night at 8 o'clock. We'll be right back here on Nothing But the Truth with
Brother Jamil.
and Sister Tisha. Thank you, everybody. We love you. We appreciate you. Assalamu alaikum. We out.
Thank you.